Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of The Music Den. I'm your host, Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a good day, and above all else, that you're indeed looking after yourselves and one another. Ladies and gentlemen, look who is back on the channel, Mr. Jim Bricker. How's it going, Jim?
Hey, I am very happy to be back. I'm doing very well, sir. Thank you.
Where have you been?
Oh, like the Johnny Cash song says, I've been everywhere, man.
And ladies and gentlemen, he means it. He means it.
I do.
Uh,
I do
ladies
have a
and
story behind that, and I'll tell that in context. So,
oh, I'm sure you will. Also, ladies and gentlemen, we have joining us today Jim's son, John Bricker, for the very first time. Welcome to the channel, John. How's it going?
Thank you very much. I'm doing very well. Long time listener, first time caller. So thanks for having me.
Thank you for being on. Thank you for being a long time watcher and listener. Ladies and gentlemen, we have resurrected an old series. Now hear this. And the word of the day is alternative. And believe me, when I say alternative, it's fucking alternative. I'm telling you right now. We're gonna have a good time though. Um, but there's going to be a bit of a flip here. We're going to flip the script. Uh, Jim and John are going to host a show, and they're going to give us a list of 8 albums of alternative folk, pop, rock, what have you. It's a regular smorgasbord. But what we're going to do is, because we have 8 albums to talk about, we're going to split this up into 2 segments. Okay? So strap yourselves
double
in
your pleasure.
and double your fun. Get some
Yeah.
food, get a drink, smoke a joint, strap yourself in, and away we go. All right.
Wow.
So, oh yeah, oh yes, we're quite liberal here in Canada. And pot's legal, so we're good to go. Okay.
Well, hey, we're in California. We get it. I'll stick with
Well,
my coffee
Yeah.
for now, though.
yeah. Thank you, Justin Trudeau. Thank you, Justin Trudeau.
Thanks, Katy Perry.
Yes, or should I say Mr. Katy Perry? Okay. Now,
Yeah.
um, this is a hell of a list, ladies and gentlemen. I will admit, out of the 8 albums, because of time restriction and other things going on, I was only able to listen to 3 of the albums. So I'm going to pass the virtual mic over to Jim and John, and I'm just going to sit here and do my best to try and behave. I'm going to try. I can't promise, but I'm going to try.
Will
So,
will you will you misbehave regarding the albums that you have heard?
stay tuned. Um,
Fair enough.
there you go.
Okay.
There you go.
All right.
All right.
So, you want me to kind of start off and running here with some context?
Off and running. Go ahead.
Okay. So, Armando, you asked earlier, where have I been? And I jokingly said, I've been everywhere. And the genesis of this episode came from some of those travels to everywhere. Earlier in October, um, my progeny and I went on a road trip and flew back east to partake in a couple of concerts. Bela Fleck Beat Trio with Antonio Sanchez and Edmar Castañeda on drums and harp, respectively, and then a solo Pat Metheny show in Massachusetts. So flew to Connecticut, drove down to Pennsylvania for a Friday night show, drove back up to Massachusetts for the Saturday night show with Pat, and then flew out from there the next day. One of the things that John Michael and I kind of talked about was putting together some music that we could share with one another along the way now.
Okay.
Um, and a lot of what we're going to be talking about today comes from the preparatory list that John put together to kind of share with me. And before we sort of dive into the albums, was there any particular rhyme or reason that went into what you put together for me?
Um, well, to be honest, a lot of the records we're talking about today have stood out just to me personally as all releases from this past year, the year of our Lord 2025, that I just found to be personal favorites. I kept coming back to and returning to. Um, and in thinking about music to share with my father over here, I was thinking about what I knew about his tastes, his biases towards certain styles of music and against certain styles of music. wasn't working a lot of hip hop into our road trip. Knew that would be an uphill battle. Although one of the albums definitely does incorporate hip hop influences and hip hop elements. But anyway, I was thinking about balancing what I personally had really connected to and kept coming back to and would really like to share, and trying to balance that with what I knew, my dad generally likes. So that ended up being a list of, I think, 7 out of the 8 albums we're talking about today. We listened to on that road trip. So yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And as I was kind of thinking about these records, and I'm telling John Michael, "Oh, you got to write this down. I want to listen to this later." It kind of became clear that there was this sort of thread in all these different albums. And not only is this kind of the guide to what online musical hipsters are listening to in 2025, it's their indie artists, or underground, or everything is alt this, alt that. There's it for these 8 albums, there's no straight tagging one genre to it. It's just this mishmash of many different things, which is part of the fantasticness of this whole thing, if you will, is that it's very hard to pigeonhole a lot of these albums or a lot of these artists. But in
Hmm.
that, I think the story that kind of emerged as I was thinking about it was to kind of share this music with folks and talk about it. And the image that kind of came to my mind is one of a bell curve. And so we're going to do this over 2 episodes, and we're going to kind of start with the stuff that's more accessible. As we get further and further into our curve, we're going to get more and more challenging, shall we say. And
That's a
then towards the
word.
end, yeah, and then towards the end, we'll get back down to the stuff that's more accessible. So um, you might be scared in the middle, but the end will be fine. Trust me, take my word for
Okay. All
it.
right.
Okay,
All
shall we
right.
dive in?
I've got my trunk suits. Let's go. I've got my trunks on.
Okay.
Let's go.
So the way we kind of set this up is that John kind of said, "Hey, Dad, why don't you go first and kind of give my impressions on things, and then he can tell me where this, he'll just say, 'Okay, Boomer,' and then set the record straight on me." That's that's how we're gonna do things, and we are teeing up with our first record here by Alex G. G as in Gee Whiz. Like I said, these are all 2025. The album is called Headlights. And this is an album that when you go and look at albumoftheyear.com or Discogs or wherever you kind of see different genre and subgenre assignments, this album is classified as indie folk, singer-songwriter, neo-psychedelia, Americana, folk rock, and indie rock. You get all that just with one album. And so this is actually the 10th album from Alex G. So this is a guy who's been making records for quite a long time. This is his major label debut on RCA. And the thing about this album that really kind of struck me is that and John, correct me if some of my terms are slightly off. But to me, the thing about this record that I really liked is that he just kind of has this approach that's like an emo James Taylor or Andy Partridge or Todd Rundgren. I mean, his songwriting is in this sort of great tradition of 70s and 80s singer-songwriters, but it's definitely got like this modern twist to it. Um, these are all like really really pleasant songs, and it's hard to kind of see how they'd be inappropriate for someone whose tastes are either more uh matured or more modern. I mean, I think it has a real broad appeal, this album does. I mean, um he's not going to be a Paul Simon. He's not going to be a Joni Mitchell, but all these songs really have a strong appeal. And then the more I listen to this record, with each subsequent listen, I'm kind of, pleasantly surprised at just how much more it grows on me, and how I'm just sort of enjoying this whole melodic flow that happens from song to song. the standout songs for me are Afterlife, Spinning, and Headlights. I'll put together kind of a highlight playlist, Armando, that you can share
Sure.
with folks out there in the audience.
Okay.
Um, Rolling Stone described this album as, kind of whether you've been riding with him for years or you're just kind of joining up with him today. Um, Headlights is an album that won't make you regret that choice. And I have to agree. Um, there's a Pitchfork writer who said that this is, Alex G has upgraded his game from hi-fi dad rock, and just kind of sails home with, a debut worthy of all-time indie graduations. So, I thought those, you know, I like borrowing the words of others and attributing them. If I feel like they can do a better job of sort of nailing the essence, than what I can do.
I
But
like
yeah,
that term.
Headlights. Yeah,
I
okay.
like that term of borrowing. Go ahead. Go
Yes, but
ahead.
attributing, very important. I'm going to give Headlights like a strong 8.5 out of 10. I really, really like this record, and every time I've revisited it, I have not been sorry that I did. Just like the dude from Rolling Stone said. So, what did I miss, John? Or what do you want to add?
I mean, you covered a lot of ground there. I think it's definitely like it's important to look back at the history of Alex G's music at this point because he was so underground for a very long time. He had like a very small but very very dedicated following like since he first started releasing music back in like 2009, 2010. And there are a lot of folks on there, especially the very very engaged younger crowd of music fans who are like constantly scrolling through things like Bandcamp to find new music. That's kind of where a lot of his music really found its audience at first, I believe. There's like a whole generation that's like grown up with his music at this point. Um, and talking about influences, I think something important to mention as well is Elliott Smith. There are lots of
Oh yeah.
folks who view Alex G as um, not necessarily the new Elliott Smith or, someone who's carrying on his tradition exactly, but someone who's very influenced by that style of songwriting and is using it in a very different kind of context. Like I first started listening to Alex G when he released his album in 2019 called House of Sugar, which is still my personal favorite of mine. Um, and something that really struck me about that record and about his style, which definitely carries over into this new album as well, is the quality of the songwriting, but also just like a real adventurousness and like where to take that songwriting, like what kind of aesthetics to use, what kind of production. I mean, on this new record, you have Spinning, which, my dad already mentioned as a personal favorite, which I think is maybe the closest to kind of an Elliott Smith style song. The songwriting sounds very, very reminiscent of something Elliott would have done. But then you also have, something that sounds more influenced by like modern, like hyper pop and like weirdo, someone making something on SoundCloud in their bedroom kind of music. You have like something that sounds like Charlie Brown Christmas on like the closer, Are You Still in There?
Okay.
Um, and then the kind of live southern rock whatever to kind of end it. um it's a really really great record. It's got a lot of versatility. And yeah, I mean, a lot like my dad mentioned earlier, it's something that I feel like I've enjoyed a little bit more every time I've come back to it. And something that, even though it's a major label debut, it still just sounds like he's doing his thing. Like it sounds like he's changed absolutely nothing about how he makes records to make his major label debut. Which I'm thrilled to see that. So
Okay.
yeah,
So,
fantastic record.
so he hasn't been influenced by the A&R guys yet at RCA in terms of going for more of a, commercial hit kind of a situation. Because that's what they usually do with, record companies, right? If they think that, the record doesn't have that hit, to sell it, then they'll say, well, you should try and do this instead. Let's try and make it more of a hit. Well, that's good though. That's good. All right. All right. Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, they seem to have not messed with the raw materials that led him to be signed in the first place. And
Yeah.
I too have listened to that House of Sugar album, and it's and I liked it. I like this a little bit more, but so we're kind of on the opposite sides of that. But I don't see this as any sort of like capitulation to a major label style. It just seems like, it's just sort of a natural evolution of where his songwriting is going.
Yeah. Yeah. No, no, no. The point I was just trying to make was usually within, with an artist that's signed to a major label, even though they've been in the business, say, for 5, 6 years, there's usually that attempt by the label to sort of gear them towards a more commercial style, to
Sure.
have the hit single on their albums, one or two singles. So it's good that that hasn't happened yet. So with this individual, so that's good. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to butt in a little bit about that, because I think that kind of conversation is interesting when it comes to Alex G. So I think he has naturally gravitated towards making more, hit potential records over time
Hmm.
anyway.
Hmm.
When he first kind of broke out with his very underground, kind of like Bandcamp releases, a lot of his music was coming from, a place of being very young, emotionally going through it and just putting it all into the music. And it was this very kind of insular, emotionally heavy thing. And now
Hmm.
over time, like, he's got songs about, how he's just chilling out, loving life, how he wants to be a dad, how he's happy with his partner. It's just like he's grown up along with his fan base. And I feel like a lot of his fan base is now in a place where they're like, yeah, I want to hear some happy music about Alex just chilling out. Um, and
Okay.
that's kind of a common theme that I think applies to one of the other records we're going to talk about later as well.
Mhm.
Fans kind of responding to an artist starting to make more content music. Um, so
Yeah.
we'll get back to that idea again, I think,
Yeah.
later.
Hmm. Okay. No, good. Fair enough. All right. Up next.
Number two, we're going to talk about the fifth album from this indie rock quartet out of Philadelphia. The band is called Friendship, and the album is called Caveman Wakes Up. You would find this filed under the Southern rock slash country slash rock section of your local schizophrenic music emporium.
Hmm.
And I'm gonna share the marketing text that was written about this band, that was up on Bandcamp. So here it goes. The band's historically capacious definition of country music grows wider still. Shambolic guitars are offset by flute pads. Bleary poetry is set against a Motown rhythm section. A song about Jerry Garcia and Betty Ford fades out with a drum solo, like if Talk Talk came from a dingy Philly basement and was fronted by James Tate. I don't know who James Tate is, but I get every one of those other references there.
I think
And
I do as well. I do as well. Yeah.
okay.
Whoop.
um, and the thing of the so in trying to sort of, again, I shared that text because I think it's really sort of accurately describes what's going on with the band.
Okay.
If I had to put this,
Sorry, I'm just
go
gonna
ahead.
pipe in. I'm gonna pipe in here and say this is one of the three albums I was able to listen to. So,
Okay,
so please continue.
good to know. Good to know. If I had to describe this in one pithy sentence, I would say that this album is the emo bastard stepchild of Chris Christopherson and Velvet Underground. It has that kind of, gritty poet heart with this just really down tempo electric guitar overdriven heroin induced New York feel out of the grimy late 60s. Um, but it's really compelling. I really like this record. It doesn't have the, I'll say, the immediate spark. Remember, our bell curve is going this way.
Oh, it
Um,
is.
it does, yeah, it doesn't have the immediate spark of the Alex G, record, but again, the more time I spend with it, the more kind of oh, what's the word? I'm entertained by these little slice of life observations that's coming from this band, of just, you know, slackers and disappointments in life. It feels like they're going through their entire life in like second gear. The musical thing about this album is that it seems like melodies, they're there, but they're more implied rather than like substantially stated. Um, it's a lot easier to sing along with some of the Alex G songs than it is with the stuff here. But
Hmm.
I really kind of like this record. I have to be in the mood to kind of go there. But when I've sort of had it on shuffle, I'm like, oh, okay, this is fine. I get what's going on here. I like this.
I would kick
Um,
myself if I didn't ask this question. This mood, would it happen to be an altered mood that you'd have to be in
no,
to be able to listen to this album?
no, no,
Okay.
no, 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 no.
We're
I was
not
I was
that
able to.
Californian. Come on, come
Okay.
on.
That's right.
Okay.
I was
Okay.
able to enjoy this while I was operating a motor vehicle at speed
I
on
would
East
kick
Coast highways.
myself
So
if I didn't ask the question. You opened the
that's
door,
fair,
I stepped in. I
as you
stepped
do,
in.
good sir.
Fair play. Fair
Yes,
play.
yes, yes. I have my moments.
So yeah, you do. Thank you. I'm glad you invite us here for them. Uh, Tree of Heaven, Love Vape, speaking of substances, and Fantasia for me are the three standout tracks for this record. John, what say you? Correct the boomer here.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like you already described a lot of what I love about the record. I think what I would describe just as far as like influences, that wasn't covered by like their own copy and your observations about the music. Um, to me, this kind of feels like what happens when like a young like slacker rock band grows up and they're dealing with like middle-aged adult problems. Um, like I could see a line of like, them starting out as a band like, I don't know, like Pavement or something, like a slacker rock band from the 90s or something, and then
Hmm.
becoming this once they hit 35 and they're like, what have I done with my life? So the lyrical themes here are very like, a lot of it is just very everyday. A lot of it just deals in like, I can't believe I still have to deal with roommates. I can't believe I have to go to work today. I can't believe I'm dealing with this, that, and the other thing. And there are some emotionally potent moments to it, but it's always in a context that feels just very everyday and approachable. It's something
Yep.
that made the record really, really easy to connect to, for me. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's not as catchy as maybe the poppiest moments of a record like Alex G's. But at the same time, like just thinking through the track list right now, I have bits of Tree of Heaven stuck in my head all the time. Love Vape, All Over the World, Resident Evil.
Yeah.
There are so many little like vocal refrains that stick with me. I think the vocals on this record remind me a lot of like Silver Jews and David Berman's songwriting and vocals as well. Um, with very very kind of gruff delivery, and lots of just like
That's a way to describe it.
what did he say there? Um, I'm sorry, what was that?
I said gruff delivery is a way to describe it.
It is. It is.
Very, very apt
Yeah.
description.
Yeah. It sounds like he smoked some cigarettes before. Um,
A few cartons.
Yeah, a few lines too. I'm moving on. Um,
but yeah,
please continue. Please continue.
sure, sure. That's most of what I had to say about the record. I just I view this as part of a scene in alt country music that I'm seeing grow in scope and popularity right now with bands like Waxahachie, who I really really love, and Wednesday, and then the solo project from the guitarist in that band, MJ Lenderman. Those have gotten lots of like new fans and critical acclaim over the past like 2 years or so. And I'm really, really loving seeing that scene kind of expand. I'm finding more and more country flavored music that I'm finding myself click with as someone who hasn't always been a country music fan. So yeah, I love this record. I think it's, you know, it might be a tough sell for some people, but if you can get past some of the aesthetics on the surface, I think there's a lot to love about it. So great record.
Okay. All right. As I said, this is one of the 3 albums I was able to listen to. How can I put this diplomatically? Musically, it's great. It's the vocals that I have difficulty with.
Okay.
Mm.
And I can't say that straight. It's not Black Midi, Jim, but it's bloody close. In terms of the,
Wow.
I'm sorry, but I mean, like, but you know what? It's fair. I mean, you know what?
At
If
least you
we,
didn't just say no.
well,
I was prepared for that,
damn
and that
near,
may come.
it was damn near. But you know, let's put it this way: if we did a show like this, okay,
Yeah.
and all 3 of us were like, "Oh, this is wonderful. This is this is the direction that music is going, and this is one." It would be boring. It'd be boring. The show
Oh,
would be
sure.
over in like 10 minutes. Okay, we like everything. Move on to the next episode. No, I mean, I listened to it.
You get
Okay.
props for listening to it, man. You know.
Yeah, I did. Thank God I had my coffee with me. But no, it's at the time.
Amen.
Yeah, but no. I mean, the vocals were really difficult for me to get to wrap my mind around. It was just that was the problem for me. But you know, it is what
Yeah.
it is. It is what it
That's where
is.
the Chris Christopherson came in to me, sort of this kind of baritone-ish,
I got that. I got
delivery
that.
on stuff. So
Personally, I think Chris Christopherson is better, but that's just me. Anyways, moving on.
moving
So
on. I think I forgot to say that I'm going to give this record an 8 out of 10. I really, I really, really like it, and I look forward to revisiting it. Um, moving to our third selection here, which I also give an 8 out of 10. Put that out of the way. This is the most recent record from Geese, as in not one goose and not two gooses, but Geese, a collection. The album is called Getting Killed, and
okay, go on.
tell you what, again, if you were looking for this in your local music emporium, you'd be looking for the art rock, indie rock, krautrock, psychedelic rock, art punk section. Um, and my brief headline about this album is that this is an amalgam of everything that your parents hate about music.
I would agree.
Um, it's skewered hooks, harmonic dysphoria, and vocal meandering, and yet it works. It rocks.
I,
It's this really tight, cohesive album. Yes,
how about harmonic dyslexia?
dyslexia will work.
Okay,
I chose this dysphoria
okay,
on purpose, but if you want
okay,
to go with dyslexia, that's fine.
okay.
Um, So this is a band that's been around since 2016, and John knows a lot more about the details of them than I. We tried to get tickets to go see them in San Francisco. They're going to be playing in late October, and even though I have connections, they're like, no, this is like the hottest ticket in town. The aftermarket
Impossible.
prices are in like the several hundreds of dollars. I mean, we're not talking like rush level prices, but you know,
Getting there.
it's
Yeah.
it's up there.
A little
Um,
sidebar. A little sidebar. Rush just announced a show in Edmonton on their recent tour. So in December,
as they did at the Shark Tank.
December 10th. Yeah, yeah. So
We,
I'm
we'll,
not
we'll
going.
try not to go down that tangent.
I'm not
Anyway,
going. I'm not going.
So again, quoting people who've had a better way of phrasing things than I actually am going to Wikipedia, and what's on there is that they've said that the music of Geese has been compared to um, New York City zone out Zen masters like Television, the Feelies, and Parquet Courts. Also, the neo new wave and dance punk of like the Strokes, the Rapture, and LCD Sound System, scads of art spaz stuff from Deerhoof to DNA to Black MIDI, and even prog flashes here or there like Yes and Radiohead. And yep, check, check, check. I'm hearing all these things in this album. It's a really, really fun record. The I got four standouts: Cobra, Islands of Man, 100 Horses, and Bow Down. I really think, for me, those are the four standout tracks. And if you're kind of into um, heavier heavier rock and stuff that's got kind of a punk edge to it, I think this might be something that's in your wheel bag to check out. I'm a fan. I'm not a huge fan, but I certainly get why people have become huge fans of this band. Um, Son, help me out.
Yeah. Okay. So Geese. They are having quite a moment right now with this record. Um, they got a lot of attention for the band's last album before this. And I think that was their like second really properly majorly released album, 3D Country. That album is so catchy and zany and all over the place. And I checked it out when it first came out. Really enjoyed certain songs from it, and I was like, okay, cool. I'll watch out for this band later on. Um, and then at the very end of 2024, the band's frontman, Cameron Winter, their main songwriter and vocalist, released his debut solo album called Heavy Metal. And I, like many music fans of my generation and younger, became pretty quickly obsessed with this solo album of his. Like his style of singing and songwriting is completely distinct. It's unique. He has an insane voice and possibly even more insane lyrics that like fit into these really catchy, sometimes very emotionally hard-hitting songs. Or it can just go completely goofy. You never really know what's coming next. And
Mhm.
the response to that solo album made the anticipation for this next Geese album with the full band like pretty immense. The first singles came out over the summer of this year. People were loving it. The band came out and did, along with like the release of this album, they did a free show in New York on release day to celebrate the new album coming out, where they played old material, all the new stuff from the album, and you see clips of them getting mobbed in like this public park in New York City, and people are going on the internet and saying like, they're the next Strokes. This is the comeback of rock music. This is the first great Gen Z rock band or whatever. And it's like, there's a lot of hype around this band right now. And it would be so easy to respond to that hype by saying, well, it's good, but it's not worth that, like calm down. It's not that big a deal. They're not doing anything that's necessarily new. It's just, maybe it's new to you or whatever. It's that good. It really is that good. Um, I can't think of a song on this album that I don't love. For entirely different reasons. They've got like such great variety across the track list of this thing. From the opener that just is this really like cracked out blues rock jam, to like Cobra, which my dad already mentioned is a personal favorite, which immediately is like a complete 180 in tone, just like this super sweet
Mhm.
indie pop Like really, really catchy tune. And it just keeps going from there. You've got, Bow Down, which is this like um, really insane groove they hit on that song. Oh my goodness, I love that thing. And also some softer moments later on in the record that I think really show how much making that solo album has influenced Winter's songwriting style. Um, I think songs like Half Real and I might be saying this one wrong, but Aw Do Pays Cocaine, that song. Um, those are two of my personal favorite moments on the record, and ones that I think make a lot more sense in context with his solo record. And yeah, I mean, I can't think of a single reason why the just swell of support and excitement around this band isn't deserved. It sucks that it's impossible to go see them live right now, but I can see why. Um, I I don't think I can think of a new rock band comprised of younger people really coming out and making their stamp on the world of music that I'm more excited about right now, and I think have more potential. So loving this record. It's worth the hype, 100%.
And just to say, in looking at the track listing, most of the songs are within the 3 minute to 4 minute range. There's a couple of songs that are like one is just under 6 minutes and one's just over 6.5 minutes. So there's a lot of, I guess you'd say, immediacy in terms of the songwriting, like the melody and composition. So yeah, I mean, when I heard this album, there's another one I heard. The only way I can describe it was pop with a punk sensibility to me.
Mm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. A lot of the songs here fit that description really, really well. I think another thing about the record as well, compared to their last album, is that it's more jammy. Like it feels looser.
mhm.
Like if you go back to their past record, 3D Country, a lot of it can get very weird and wild, but that's mostly in the performances and the lyrics. A lot of the song structures are very like, this is a pop song. This is, I get it absolutely immediately. Um, but a track like Islands of Man on this record is just this really slow, patient build with these like little, like I can really hear the television influence on that one for sure. The way it just builds on these guitar
Okay.
licks. Um, and Trinidad, obviously, with this just drawn out blues jam.
Mhm.
It feels a lot looser and more kind of linear in the way the songs move and build.
Mhm.
um, which I think it's cool to see that they're already, so soon after they've really broken out and found this kind of foothold in music, they're already experimenting with their style and their approach.
Mhm.
It's another thing that I think it makes me feel like they have just crazy, crazy potential. I'm really, really excited to see how their discography kind of rounds out as they continue making records. Um,
Okay. Okay.
so yeah, I'm loving this thing.
Mm. All right. Okay. Jim, any more comments or shall we continue
I think we should continue to the fourth album for and the
uh,
final album that we're going to discuss on this segment.
for part one?
Um,
Go ahead.
for part one. Yep. So this album is from the group Caroline, and this is their second album, creatively titled Caroline 2. Um, this is okay, so been talking about this bell curve. We're just about at the apex of the bell curve now. This is where things get really a bit more out. In fact, I think trying to describe this as some sort of weird amalgam of like talk mixed with Sigur Rós mixed with um, I don't know. Um, it's kind of taking what Talk was doing in its final two records, especially Laughing Stock, and just
Okay.
taking it to like a more aggressive electric extreme. Um, where
Okay.
like song, forms are just like completely abandoned in favor of just whatever sort of feels right for the song. I kind of liken this to just being a meandering, mesmerizing, and just kind of mystifying sort of record. It's like the audio equivalent of giving a 70s gas station roadmap to a blind person and saying, yeah, follow that thread. And that's exactly what these guys, kind of do here. It's, again, sort of to throw these categories on it: post rock, avant folk, progressive folk, experimental rock, chamber folk. Yes, 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 yes. All those things completely apply here. Um, there's a guy on for Slant magazine that described this album, giving it a perfect score of 5 stars, um, saying that this is an album of collisions between time and space, past and present, precision and spontaneity. And he praised its fluidity and refusal to resolve. Yep, got to agree with that. Um, there's a website called The Line of Best Fit, where they talk about this record and saying that it tears apart the cliches of rock, bringing in the endlessly shifting vocals of hyperpop and collage style production of experimental rap to fracture and reassemble the traditions of not merely rock as a genre, but post rock itself. Harumph. Um, it's it's kind of hard to describe this, succinctly. And there's another record like that is the apex of the bell curve. We'll talk about that at the top in the next episode. Um, but again, this post rock, avant folk, experimental rock, yeah, all these things kind of apply. Um, I think that the tracks that stand out for me are the ones that are probably the most accessible, and that would be "Tell Me I Never Knew That" and "When I Get Home." Even within those two, there's a lot of experimentation and wandering and meandering that happens. Again, kind of taking this talk laughing stock aesthetic and just having it go all the way to its logical extreme. That's what this record reminds me of. um this isn't quite difficult listening hour, but you've really got to have your head in an open space to say, okay, this is not going to be something you hear on AOR radio. This is like
Hell
getting
no.
into the no, this is getting into the indie most alt most of some of the stuff that we've been talking about,
Hmm.
but we're not at the apex yet. So
We haven't peaked yet. Okay.
we have
Okay.
not peaked yet. The peak of the bell curve is still to come. But John,
Yeah.
oh
So
wait, I forgot to throw my rating on there. I'm throwing 7.5 out of 10 on this.
alrighty. Um, okay. So I first heard about this band through one of the hip music blogs. It wasn't Line of Best Fit, but it was another one that I think might have an even more small and nerdy audience. And one of my friends who I know through like music journalism stuff had sent me that, top 100 best records of the year list or whatever, and went like, dude, this is the one. They're getting into some crazy stuff here. If you want to find new stuff to listen to that you missed this year, go to this record, go to this list of records. So I scrolled back through, and I think this was for 2021. No, I think it was earlier than that. I think it was like 2019 when their debut album came out, just called Caroline, and that was the number one spot on this blog's list of the 100 best records of 2019. I was like, okay, I have no idea what this is. Let me check it out. And aesthetically, very different to this second record, but a lot of the core of it was there. You've got these really lush orchestrations with all these guitars and drums and horns and woodwinds and strings and just like everything in the kitchen sink coming in there. And you've got, it's this collective of British folks, and you've got like one vocalist who sounds like he's in the bathroom way over there screaming his brains out, and
Mhm.
then this, beautiful womanly vocal that comes in that sounds like it's right in your ear, whisper quiet over here, and it's just like this crazy mix of things. And like I really came to love that record, their debut record. I ended up getting it on vinyl when I saw it, just randomly at a I think it was like the Amoeba Berkeley, as I was like shopping around in there. And someone probably listened to it and said like, this is not for me, and then took it into Amoeba, and then I got to benefit because it's exactly my kind of thing. So anyway, fast forward to earlier this year, in the summer when this new album comes out. I had no idea that it was coming. I kind of forgot to look out for the band and to keep track of whether they were working on new music. It just kind of popped up in my little streaming suggested new albums for you, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'll listen to that later. Yeah, cool. I think like I listened to it a couple weeks after it came out, and I don't know if this is my favorite album from 2025, but I think I had the best first listening experience to this album out of any album that came out this year. There's a moment on the opening track, Total Euphoria, where it's building and building with these kind of abstract, blends of drums and electric guitar, and everything kind of feels like it's on a different rhythm and wavelength, and it's like breathing and pulsing, and it feels very just alive and electric. And it builds up with these strings, and all of a sudden everything else drops out, and it's just this wave of distorted bass. And I can't think of another song I've heard that sounds like that. It caught me completely off guard. And the rest of the record is just as inventive and like weirdly beautiful as that moment. It just has like such a great dynamic kind of ebb and flow to it. It really takes you on this journey, and I don't know. It's been something that I've gone back to as much as I have, despite how weird it is, because nothing else really gives me that feeling that this record gives me. It hits me in a way that even their debut album doesn't. So yeah, I think it's completely distinct, really, really inventive, really, really exciting. If anyone out there has even a passing tolerance for like post rock music or emo music, or I don't know, you just want to hear something that you've never heard before, I highly, highly recommend this album. Yeah, it's one of my favorites of the year for sure.
Okay. All right. I did listen to this album. And the two standout tracks is Tell Me I Never Knew That and When I Get Home. Those are the two standout tracks for me on this album. I need to sit with it some more. It's not Black Midi. I'm not going there, but
Yeah,
nothing's really
there's some
Black
wild
Midi.
stuff though. There's some
Oh,
really
oh
aggressive
yeah.
auto tune and some crazy production stuff.
Oh
It
yeah.
gets
Mhm.
Yep, yep. But well, that's all right. That's fine. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of part one of Now Hear This. Yes.
I'm just signifying yes.
Oh,
Part
yes.
one.
Okay. Part one. I thought he was going to stop me from. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
You'll
Ball
know when
starts
I'm going
now.
to stop you.
Oh,
Trust me.
yes, I know. Ladies and gentlemen, uh, please check out these albums that Jim and John have talked about, and give us your opinions down below. Um,
Expand your horizons. Take a risk. It's practically free.
what Jim said. Yes.
Yeah.
Uh,
No wrong.
expand your horizons, and give us your opinions down below in the comments. And again, let us know what you think. Again, out of this list of the four, I've listened to three of them, and for me, they were quite different. I'm not gonna lie, they were quite different. Uh, but you know what? Again, if we were to like everything, it'd be boring. These panel shows would be boring. There would be no challenge to them. So again, check out the list and put your comments down below. And we will be back with part 2 of Now Hear This. All right. Have a great day, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.